Welcome to the NAMB Podcast, where we bring you the voices that drive the mortgage industry. Join dynamic hosts Ginger Bell and Matt Shields as they dive into bold conversations with top experts, industry leaders, and change makers from across the country. From insider insights to game-changing trends, this is your front row seat to what's happening right now in the world of home finance.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of the NAMB Podcast. My name is Ginger Bell, and I have my co-host with me, Mr. Matt Shields. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Ginger. How you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, and I am very excited to be here because we have a very special guest.
Yes, we do. We have Megan Anderson, VP of Client Relations with MBS Highway. We're so excited to have you, Megan.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're excited. I know just for those of you who have been following Megan, Megan started on a very long voyage across the United States. And you are on, what day are you on now?
286 days of full-time van life.
Of full-time van life, which is amazing. And just, you know, that whole story in itself, Megan, is really just a testament to you, to who you are, to your ability to take risk. And it encompasses a lot of people that are in the mortgage industry. I mean, you have to have that drive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us in this industry, we're here to make our dreams happen. And also, a lot of us experience burnout, and that's kind of what got me started in the van life. I was just like, I need to be more in nature and recharge. And it's been such a wild journey, as you mentioned, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm doing this from Canada right now.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
And seeing so many great things. And you can work along the way. So it's not like, and I think that's the thing, you know, Matt, you took on the role of leading our NAMB Young Professional organization. And, you know, that's the thing when you think about how many industries you can get into and do that, where it's like, hey, I want to have that work-life balance. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do and to travel, but also still work. And Megan, it's not a small role that you play either. I mean, you're the vice president of client relations for one of our largest technology companies in the industry, MBS Highway. You know, get up in the morning, you record a video every single morning, right?
Yes, and it's East Coast hours, so I'm Pacific time zone right now. I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm camera ready to film a morning update video for all the originators, letting you know what's going on in the market by 5:30.
That's commitment right there.
Yes, well, right there. You know, got to keep everybody in the know what's going on. It's been such a wild ride here in this industry.
Yeah. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about the industry, but I do want to just kind of, I'm a technology geek. I know you do a lot around AI. And so, you know, you have to have your camera, you have to have everything ready to travel with all the time, to do your podcasts. You have to have your, you know, Starlink available and all those things. So that's one side of technology. But as AI is coming into place, what are some of the things that loan officers can do to bring AI technology into their business?
Oh, the best place to start is to sit down with yourself and get brutally honest. Dive into your business processes and your pain points. And what I often find is that the initial pain point isn't the real one. So oftentimes I'll help originators and they'll come with me the problem of, oh, I need to stay more consistent on social media to drive future leads and stay top of mind, but I just don't have the time. Well, as you dive in deeper to that pain point, oftentimes it's not the time. And we have to get brutally honest with ourselves. I used to tell myself that excuse too. And then I went and I did a time inventory and I realized I'm spending 2.5, 3 hours a day on social media alone. I can't tell myself I don't actually have the time. And so once you get honest with yourself, now you can find a solution. And there's so many different AI platforms out there to help solve every single pain point. But before you can, again, you have to get brutally honest with yourself at what is actually keeping you from reaching that goal.
I love that. And finding those tools to be able to do that as well.
Yes.
Well, Megan, how did you find yourself into the mortgage industry and over at MBS Highway, where you guys have so many tools at our originators' fingertips at all times? How'd you get to the business?
Well, like everybody, we have a funny story of how we got here, right?
Right.
And, when I started in this, I was actually living in Las Vegas at the time. I was a personal trainer and I had left the gym, but I had taken my clients with me. But, I still needed more money than I was getting at the time. So being that I was in Vegas, it was really easy to work events. You're working for a weekend, you're not committing to a part-time or full-time job. It was the perfect thing for me at the moment. And I ended up working Mastermind. And that's where I met Barry and Tim Brahim and everybody. And at that point in time, I was kind of falling out of love with what I was doing. I realized that I realized I had a bad relationship with my body image and food. And I was like, I need to take a step back and not have my sole income be based off of my body image. And so I was like, I need to look for something else to do. And it just happened so beautifully that Barry was like, well, why don't you come start working events with us? And so I started doing that. Next thing you know, I sold my belongings. And I guess this isn't the first time that all my boxes, right? And I got on a plane and I went to Jersey and I started doing sales for MBS Highway, and I absolutely hated it at first. Cold calling. I was like the millennial that was like, do not call me, you only text me. And so it was such a beautiful thing though, because it made me very uncomfortable, but you have to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations in order to grow.
Yep. Amen.
Which is what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. So talking about growth, when you look back over your career, what was that one thing that you said, man, besides the cold calling, you said that pushed you? You said, I really grew in that. And how did you stick with it? I think that's the thing. There's times we get into growth opportunities and growth situations, but then it gets uncomfortable. And I'm reading a book right now called 10 Times is Easier Than 2 Times by Dan Sullivan. And it talks about how we can take that, if you're going to grow by 2 times and your goals are going to grow by 2 times, it doesn't take that much to do that. And so if you really want to grow, you have to extend that. And that's what's that 10 times? So, in looking at that, what was something that did that for you where it's like, wow, that was a 10 times growth. And this is what made me stick with it.
Well, I'll be honest. I think initially what made me stick with it is I was just a little lost. I didn't really know what direction I was going at in life, but I knew I wanted to be successful in whatever venture I moved forward in. And, Barry Habib, my boss, he believed in me. He saw something in me, and I didn't really believe in myself at that point in time. And I think oftentimes when you have someone that believes in you, whether it's a significant other or your parents or your children, you want to make them proud, right? And so that made me show up every single day and push myself. And then I remember we were at a speaking engagement and Barry was like, you're going to get on stage. And I was like, what? Right. The only time that I had ever been on stage before was for bodybuilding shows. And I was like,
right.
What? I have to stand up there and like, they're going to judge me off of what comes out of my mouth. It was completely terrifying. I remember I was wearing my Apple Watch at the time. I'm about to go on and it starts buzzing because my heart rate's so high. I'm like, I do not need this. I took that thing off ASAP. But that was definitely a 10x growth, was doing that, getting on stage and realizing I could do this, right? And then once you do something once, it proves to yourself that you're capable of it. And so then you naturally kind of want to keep pushing it and keep growing and keep evolving. So I definitely think that was something at the time that felt like a very small thing. Like I was on stage just for a couple minutes, but it really pushed me to that next level. And then I remember kind of a full circle moment. Man, I don't remember how many years ago it was now, but I spoke at Mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really big moment for me as well, because that was one of the largest audiences that I had spoken at. I was so nervous. It went over so well. And at that point in time, that's when I started believing in myself and kept wanting to push and keep pushing this envelope as far as it would go.
And you have continued to become not just a big educator, Megan, because I know you do a lot of workshops, you speak across the country, but also a keynote. And I know you're keynoting at NAMB National, that's in October. And you're speaking on AI. So, and again, it's like pushing yourself 10x. So you're speaking on stage, not so comfortable with it. Okay. But now you've gotten into speaking on a topic that is new, that you have to spend some time researching, and lots of different technologies. I mean, that's the thing that I love about you, is you're always looking at what is new, what can I learn? Not a matter of, hey, I've got this, I've got it nailed, I can do this, but it's like, hey, I've got this nailed, what else can I do?
Yes.
And
I
that's
think
one
that's
of the
an
things Matt
important way to
does too.
live.
Yeah.
I think that we all need to be very curious and constantly evolving that way. Like when I first started speaking, and Matt and I were talking about this before we started this, it was on social media, right?
Yep.
And then I went through a time period where I was basically doing Barry's speech on the economy, but just me giving his speech essentially. And then I got asked to speak on AI, and that was another one of those 10x moments, because
Right.
it was like, okay, I've heard of AI, but like I don't really know enough, and I need to be an expert if I'm going to stand on stage and talk about this. And so that led to, diving into the research, diving into trying out the various platforms. And that was definitely another 10x moment as well. And kind of pushing that development, that's what led me to putting on these monthly AI workshops as well. And it's funny because every month I teach a new topic, and it's almost like, oh, I got to keep going in, I got to keep researching. But that's kind of this AI realm in general, right? It moves so
Right.
quickly
Yeah.
that you blink and it's like, I'm behind. So
It's evolving so fast.
yeah.
And with that big shift to AI, and for loan officers wanting to get into AI, what's a great starting point that you would recommend for one of our listeners who's just getting started dipping their toes in the AI water?
Yeah, so if you're just getting started with it, I recommend that you go download Chat GPT, and just start using it. Use it for all and everything, just so you can begin to learn and understand how it actually functions. One thing that I don't just use it for business stuff. Sure, it's really great to help you rewrite emails. It's really great for all these things, helping you come up with ideas, but you can use it for life stuff too. I mean,
Amen.
I have a project on chat where it has it's basically my personal trainer. It tells me what to do. I tell it what weight I do, how I felt, and then it adjusts the next one. You can use it for cooking recipes. I mean, someone the other day that I was on a call with, they used it to get tips on how to have a hard conversation with their child. There's so many ways to use it. So just get in and start playing around with it. That's going to be the best way to just get your feet wet.
I think it's a great tip. And for me, I actually used it the other day for like meal planning for the week. Like, what should I eat for dinner this week? And then I asked it to give me a grocery list, and it broke out all the groceries. And I feel like I'm getting better at AI. And just as a loan officer, there's just so much coming down the pipeline of AI. And it's like, you got to get with it now.
Well, and it's, what we kind of just talked about too. You dipped your toe in, and now you're getting more comfortable, and that's building your confidence. It's the
Yep.
same thing with anyone right now that is feeling apprehensive about using AI. Dip your toe in, start using it over time. That's going to build your confidence. And then the next thing you know, you're going to be getting into automations and AI agents.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just endless.
Well, let's talk about that, because as organizations, I mean, as loan officers getting involved in AI, that's one thing. But as an organization, looking at, okay, I know there's options out there for automation and underwriting, and automation and technology, and chatbots, and making phone calls. What should a organization do as far as even starting with, how do we do this?
Well, very similar process as to just the single originator themselves. I suggest that you go through and you analyze, what are the pain points right now? What exactly are you trying to do? Are you trying to save money per loan? Are you trying to make it go through quicker? Like, what exactly are you trying to solve? Is it lead generation? And then once you get very clear on what you're trying to solve, well, then you can go out there and you can see what those options are. Or, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to have a conversation with you on what might work best. But I think that is the easiest place to start. And once you have a list of things that you're trying to solve and you're trying to figure out where should I start to plug in AI, well, I think that, you go with the one that is going to get you a high ROI and at the same time feels like it doesn't have as much risk, right? Like front facing might be a little riskier or feel a little riskier versus starting on the back end process side of things. So find that happy medium, start to implement it. And the nice thing about it now is, there are companies out there that are integrating AI. So you're not going to be the first one to do these things anymore. And so learn from other people's mistakes or learn what worked, right? And so it's such a great place that we're at now because you're not going to be the first one to do it.
Right.
That's a great
Well,
point.
and implementation too. And I think, obviously MBS Highway, technology product, so many different ways that loan originators can use the service that you provide. And so knowing how it's going to fit and what that implementation, I think, especially as an organization, to be able to provide that support once you do start implementing AI and maybe start with a small beta group, test it out, see where I always say the alligators in the pond are, and then, go from there. But don't be afraid of it, and reach out to someone like Megan, who has a good idea on technology and the AI. I know if you're going to NAMB National, definitely make sure and attend Megan's session. It's going to be great. You're going to cover a lot of different things there. And I know you're going to have a lot of new things that you're going to be bringing in there as well. But that's what you need to do, is to be able to do that and attend events. That's the thing, whether you're a loan officer, whether you're a branch manager, whether you're, a C-level executive, get to the events and find out what the technology is that's out there and have those conversations and start looking at them.
100%. Couldn't agree more. NAMB National is going to be awesome. Everyone listening to this should definitely attend.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit because I know recently you just put a video out for NAMB talking about what's happening in the market right now and interest rates, and not just interest rates, but really what's happening with applications. So you had some numbers you shared when we were in the green room. So if you want to run by those, and I think a lot of you that are listening will be excited about what Megan is sharing.
Yes. So as you guys know, if you're part of the MBS Highway family, we come out with a video every single morning breaking down what's going on. So we're constantly looking at the reports. And a weekly report that we get comes from the Mortgage Bankers Association and its application volumes. And so 70% of applications out there, and this was like a week ago's data, are refinance applications. And a third of those are cash out refinances. And I think that it's a really great time to be able to reach out and have this conversation with clients. And we have so many tools on MBS Highway that are going to allow you to do that. And I know we did see rates dip down a little bit last week when we got the BLS jobs report that came out, and their numbers, well, they're being honest now, hopefully. So anyways, it did help us out a little bit when it comes to rates, right? But I do think that it's an important time to reach out to your past database. Their rate might not be as low as when it was when they got their mortgage, right? But a lot of people have debt out there. Mm-hmm. And so you can use our blended rate calculator on MBS Highway to overcome that initial hurdle of them maybe not wanting to talk to you because they're thinking in their head, why would I want to refinance when I have 3.25% and rates aren't that low today? Well, it might benefit them financially, right? So start and have the conversation with them. Yeah, but do you have any debt? Like, let's find out what your blended rate is. And when you put in all their credit cards, they're going to notice, oh, my blended rate is actually like about where rates are today. Okay, great. Now let's talk about restructuring that debt. And then you can pull them into our debt consolidation tool. And that allows you to input all of their debts and share with them how you can take out a higher mortgage, consolidate that high interest debt, and where you used to save them on rate, Now you can save them on time, and you can share with them how they can pay off that mortgage sooner, how you're going to actually be saving them money each month by reconsolidating this so they don't have to pay that high interest credit card debt. It is such a powerful, powerful tool. And I think that people are open to having that conversation right now because they might be feeling the impacts of this debt at this point in time. And so it's a great conversation to reach out and have with your database.
I can speak firsthand. I'm a big MBS Highway fan. I've been watching daily videos now for 6 years. I use your guys' tools every day. I use the blended rate calculator. I use the debt consolidation tool. I'm using the presentation for my purchases, showing different options to my clients. And I got to say, the feedback that I get from my buyers and my refinance clients, it makes my life so much easier being able to paint the picture in such a clear way that's visual for them. So I got to say, I'm a big supporter. I use it literally every day. Every client gets a presentation. And I'm just so thankful for all the good work you guys do. You guys make my life easy.
Oh, appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
I mean it too.
Well, and that's what it's all about is, and if you're new, and I know Matt, obviously working at the young professionals, you get a lot of questions on your monthly calls saying, where do I get started? How do I, answer questions? You can learn through that process as well. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, Megan, a couple of things, and I know you all have a very short little teleprompter. So you can record a video, use a script. So you can record a video, post it on social media. And talking about using those tools that you have, you could put together a hypothetical scenario and just saying, hey, I just, had a conversation with a borrower. And even though their rate was, 3.5%, what they had was, credit card debt or a kid going off to college. Life happens. And so as those things happen, to be able to show a scenario, to give that example, to create a video and share that on social media, send it out to your database. You should always be emailing your database, whether it's a good time for refinance or not, because it's that top of mind awareness to be able to do that. So use these tools, take the information that, Megan sharing and Matt sharing, and then kick yourself and say, I'm going to 10X it. I'm going to push this out here. Right. Yeah. And get out there and do it, because it is just a matter of being able to reach out one person where they're at in their life, where you can make a difference for them.
Yeah. And I don't want to hear any of this BS about how I don't feel comfortable being on camera. We are in the day and age of AI. If you want to create your AI avatar and have it do the videos, and you don't have to. Just get out of your head and start creating. I think so many of us are perfectionists in this space, and that keeps you from taking action.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, there's a great AI tool. It's called Hey Jen, and you can have your own AI avatar. I will say, if you are going to do something like that, make sure that you don't play that it's you. Call it something else. You can say, hey, my name is Megan. I'm Matt's AI assistant, and I'm here to share with you, whatever that is. But using those tools are important. So we're going to wrap this up. But before we do, I want to make sure, Megan, that you tell our listeners how they can reach with you. Two things, because you've got a podcast. So tell us about your podcast, and then obviously following you on your van life. If you're listening to this and you're going to be at NAMB National, we're going to do a meetup. We're going to do hopefully a combined between Megan and our young professionals meetup at NAMB National. So watch for that. So how can our listeners follow you?
Yeah, so the podcast is called On the Highway. You can find it anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Be sure to check that out. As far as following the van life journey, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I am Megan Anderson. And feel free to email me as well. It's Megan, MEGAN, at themegananderson.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So Megan, so good to see you. Enjoy your travels across Canada. And we look forward to seeing you in Vegas. I think you're going to be driving there, right?
Yes, I'll be driving there. Snoop will be there as well.
Awesome. Yay. We'll have Snoop at the conference. And Matt, thank you so much. We had a great time in this conversation. And so make sure and follow us. You can find our information for the NAMB podcast at nambpodcast.com. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the NAMB Podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. For more episodes, resources, and guest interviews, visit nambpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you